second Sunday of Christmas, Sharon shared with me a decorative box. I've stamped the lid, and the base is taller than the lid is deep so that it shows slightly underneath, giving this beautiful finished look. Let's see how it's made. We are going to begin with our box base, or the bottom. I've created this basic template. Now the measurements are not on here because you can use this for varying size boxes, but it also is important to note that this is pretty much what the top looks like. The bottom ones, the score marks are different, so some of these areas will be a little bit wider. But this is just to show you what gets folded, what gets cut, what gets removed. So these 4 pieces are the parts that get removed. We're going to start with a piece that measures 8.5 by 8.5, and we're going to score at 1 2 5/8 on all 4 sides. So 8.5 by 8.5. One of those measurements is very easy because it is 8.5 wide already. Now you can score with your paper trimmer, but I really prefer when I'm creating 3D items to use my Simply Scored tool. Now I said I was going to score at 1 inch and 2 5/8 inch, and I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. Now the reason why you don't want to just say, how about 1 2 5/8 and 7.5 and whatever that other measurement is if you score the same amount on all 4 sides, then you will ensure that even if your cardstock is slightly off from the 8.5 by 8.5, your measurements, your folding pieces are all the same height. So 1 2 5/8. 2 5/8 is 1 mark past the 2.5 here. So 1 2 5/8. 1 2 5/8. 1 2 5/8. All right, let's set this aside. We're going to bring in our paper snips, and I'll bring back my template so that you can see what I'm doing. We're going to cut up on these vertical score lines up to that second horizontal score line. I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom. I am not doing this on all 4 sides like I scored, because then I'd be cutting the entire corner off, and I don't want to do that. So once I've cut those off, what I want to do is I want to remove these 2 sections and then this section. It becomes a little bit easier to see once you remove one section, and then I have to remove this section. Same thing over here. I'm going to remove these 2 pieces, and so it doesn't really matter if I start on the horizontal or the vertical. I just have to make sure that I'm removing everything attached to that corner. So there we go. So we have this little L shape here, backwards L over here. Rotate it, do the same thing on the other side. Cut up to the second score mark. And while I'm over here, if I wanted to go ahead and cut those pieces off, I certainly could. So cut that off. and then cut off this little bottom piece. Cut up to the second score line on both score lines over here. Cut one off. And this is your basic box template, whether it's box lid or box bottom. You're going to cut up to the second horizontal line, and then you're going to trim around on both score lines all the way around. Okay, now that we are here, we want to do a little bit of mitering. So mitering just takes a little bit off the edge. That will help it fold in into the box easier. It gives it a little bit of space. So anything that folds in, so these are some tabs. So we're going to fold in and cut on those tabs. Now, I often get asked, which way do you fold? Here is the divot. So it sinks in. That's actually where you fold out. I'm going to fold on all of these. If you see a little area where you've got a little piece hanging, just trim it as you do it. Some people like to fold and burnish before they cut so they can see the lines a little bit better. All right, there we go. So this is our box. These tabs are going to fold up. We're going to take a little bit of liquid glue. And liquid glue is nice because it gives you some wiggle time to get that right into the perfect place. So I'm bringing this edge up to meet the other score line. And it just takes a second to set up. It really doesn't take long. And we're just going to work our way around the box. For those of you wondering why my voice is so gravelly or definitely different than it usually is, it is the fall allergy season. And also, I fell asleep on the couch, but have to get this recorded before I go away to the family cabin. Did I not score? There we go. So I am filming this in the wee hours of the morning after having woken up from a little snooze on the couch. I had a migraine yesterday, which again, it's fall allergy season. Everybody thinks spring is bad, and it can be, but I find that fall is my worst season. Oops, this one I guess didn't set up. I let go too soon. Go ahead and we will just, I'm going to take my bone folder and just help that set up just a little bit. So now you can see you have these tabs up here. We're creating a nice finished edge to our box. I'm going to put some glue in here and fold that down. And then go right around the box. These sides with the tabs, you'll find a little bit thicker. You'll notice the difference, but it works the same way. It's just not as smooth on that inside. But see how this tab kind of, I didn't get glue right to the end, so folding this over makes that finished look it's a lot neater. And you can, again, help this set up by burnishing on all those sides. And that is our box base. Now we need to turn our attention to the box top. For our box lid, we're going to begin with a piece that is 7 5/16 inches by 7 5/16 inches. So this base right here measures 3 1/4. The center square of the lid is going to also be similar, but it's going to be slightly larger. So instead of 3 1/4, it will be 3 5/16. And that's because the lid has to be slightly larger to go over the base. Let's open up our paper trimmer and we're going to cut to 7 5/16. So each tick mark here is a 16th. So if you find 7 and then go over 5 tick marks more, you'll see that you are 1 little tick mark past the 7 1/4. And that's 7 5/16. Now before I score this, I'm going to do some stamping. And I brought in my glass mat studio so that I'm not inking up my my background here. I'm bringing in the one-of-a-kind stamp set, and we'll use this periodically throughout this Christmas season and winter probably. It comes with a die set as well, small die, just a large outline of this, and then a smaller snowflake image itself. I'm using boho blue because that is the color of the base that I chose. And I'm going to do some generational stamping. So first generation, second generation, third generation. You can see it gets lighter each time. We're just creating our own designer series paper. And make sure you're turning your ink or your stamp in the process. And you'll notice some inks, the generational difference in the ink is more than others. I don't know why, it just is. Turn, turn. And let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1. Now I stamped off here, so I'm going to get a harsh color if I stamp over here. So let's go ahead. We will re-ink. 1, 2. Ooh, I missed it a little bit there, but that's all right. And let's see. Let's go up here. 1. And again, stamping off. So as long as I keep this off, I can keep doing some generational stamping. The other thing that you can do once you sort of get near the end is you might ink up, stamp off, and then just do some repeated stamping there. Just filling up a lot of that white space. All right, so that is our image. Now I think there's some white space in here that I want to fill up. So let's go ahead and just do that. All right. So there we go. We've got a flurry of activity going here. All right, let me move this. I'll have to clean this with my chamois that comes with the Glass Mat Studio. All right, now we're ready to score. Let's bring back our Simply Scored tool. And our guide says we are going to score at 1 and 2 inches on all 4 sides. So instead of 1 2 5/8, it's 1 and 2. All right. Again, 1. I want to use the smaller end of my stylus. It gives a deeper, better score line. 1, 2. I'm just putting my stylus in that one groove and dragging down. It is that simple. 1, 2. Because of all the stamping, it's a little bit difficult to see. So I'm going to turn it over. Look, I had some ink on my glass mat studio from a previous attempt at stamping those snowflakes. That's a little secret. I edited that out. It's okay. This is going to all get either cut off or folded in anyway. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if you can't see the lines on the front, it's all right. You can cut on the back. So remember what we're going to do? We're going to cut on the score lines up to the second horizontal mark. We're going to do that on both ends. Rotate it 180 degrees. So you can do all this at one time and then go back and cut off the edges that you need to cut off. Okay, so remember we want to cut off an L here. Didn't cut in far enough, I guess. And then we want to cut off this little piece right here. All right, so we have that look going on. Same thing here. We're going to cut off this longer piece, and then we'll cut off this shorter piece. We'll turn it around and do the same thing again. Get our scraps out of the way. And then we need to do some mitering. So all the tabs, all the sides that kind of fold into the box, the raw edges, if you will. So we're going to do this and this. These free tabs right here. Remember, you're just taking off a little bit. Helps it close and go together more neatly. Here's our tab. So we want the 2 parallel free sides to get mitered. I have been bringing in a bunch of math terms for you, haven't I? Some of you may appreciate it. Some of you may be like, oh. I get it. Not everybody loves math. I do. I love box design because it helps me use my math brain. You'll notice that a 3 1/4 inch wide box for finished measurement, that's the largest you're going to be able to get. You can pare it down and get a smaller box, but you're not going to get a larger one out of 8.5 by 11 cardstock because that bottom used 8.5. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to we're going to burnish on all our score lines. I'll show you the creative opportunity you have with this lid in a moment, or probably when I get done. You could stamp on both sides so that the lid is also decorated on the inside. The only part that's really going to show is this part right here. Everything else gets folded in. So if you want to cover up some of these marks, you can either take another piece of cardstock and cut that to fit over, or you can stamp on this side. We're going to put it together just as we did the base. We will start with one of the tabs. And you don't want to get your glue too near the edge. You don't want to have it too far away either, but you don't want it too near the edge because you don't want your glue to squeeze out and create a sticky mess. So pull our tab in and our box top up. You want to align that edge. It's probably going to be a little bit difficult for you to see on camera that they're lined up because of the stamping. And there's this last one. I'm spreading out my glue a little bit with the tip just so it's not going to squeeze out, which I did put a little extra glue in there, so hopefully we're fine there. Make sure that's flush. Okay, now we've got these little pieces right here, and you can use tear and tape if you'd like to on this. Tear and tape would work well. You just want something that's pretty sticky, and the liquid glue is very sticky. All right, so we have that. But tear and tape is very sticky as well. You could also use Seal Plus. Seal Plus is going to be it's going to be a little bit harder. If you're going to use the tear and tape, I would suggest putting it on when it's flat and it's not already got the edges folded up. You can see where you would put it on. You would put it on this edge, this top edge of the flap that's sticking out on the non-stamped side. In case you're a sticky strip fan. Oops, I think I forgot to miter this edge right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So that our box does go together nicely. Okay. So there we have our box top, and we'll just come in here and use our bone folder to make sure that those tucked over pieces lay nice and flat in there, nicely stuck down. And you've got a really, because we use the thick basic white, you've got a nice sturdy box top. And we can set that lid right on top of here. And it is a snug fit, which is what you want because you don't want it to fall apart. So there is our box, and you can see it's nice to have this little extra bit showing. It looks more decorative, but also you can grab a hold of it and take it off a lot easier too. All right, so there it is. Now we just need to decorate. We have a couple of pretty ribbons that we can use. We have this iridescent striped trim ribbon. It's got all sorts of different colors. It shows up a lot with the yellows and the greens though, so I don't think I'm going to use that one. I think I'll be using the silver and white sheer ribbon. So it's a very sheer ribbon. It's just got a nice silvery edge. Isn't that pretty? So it doesn't detract from the stamping at all. We will bring this up. Now, a lot of people I know like to tie on the spools. Sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't. It really just, I don't know, I guess it depends on the day. I'm going to try it. I'm going to hold that half knot down and wrap things around. And there we go. I did a pretty good job, I think. And we can just play with the ends. And now there's no ribbon waste. Well, I might take a little bit off this other end, but it looks pretty good. So you can play until you've got the ribbon going in the directions that you want it to go. You know, the ends, I'll probably just do this. And there is our little box. And this is the second Sunday of Christmas. To receive the free download that will give you the cutting guide as well as the dimensions, make sure that you are on my email subscriber list. You can find the link to that in the description of this video below. Hope you enjoy it.